I'm now going to continue my video series on Henry Ward Beecher and his sermons by discussing the story of Cain and Abel. Specifically, what we're going to discuss is how God was capable of hearing Abel's voice after Abel had passed away. Okay? Many people alive today want to be remembered after they die, but they want to be remembered fondly. They don't just want to be remembered, they want to be remembered fondly. Now think about that for a second. Think about this. How do we remember Nero, or Pilate, or Adolf Hitler, or Joseph Stalin? Or how do we remember Judas Iscariot? Think about that. Judas Iscariot. How do we remember him? Not too fondly, I can tell you that. But how do we remember names like Mary, or Joseph, or Jesus, or Paul, or Peter? How do we remember those names? Yeah, a little different, don't you think? As a matter of fact, we name our dogs Nero, but we name our children Joseph and Mary and Paul and Peter, and I could go on and on. So how do you get remembered fondly? One way to do it is to build something that benefits society long after you perish. That's a good way to cause people to discuss you after you die. Think about the names Milton Hershey, or Henry Ford, or Charles Goodyear, or Thomas Edison, or Alexander Graham Bell. Their inventions made our lives easier, and that's why they're so fondly remembered. But you could also create a charity which could cause you to be fondly remembered. Like Clara Barton. Ever heard of her? She's the one who founded Red Cross. Or how about the Reverend Edgar J. Helms? He founded Goodwill. You should get to know those names. Doing something politically correct can keep you alive in the memory of others. Take, for instance, the names of Abraham Lincoln, Henry Ward Beecher, or Martin Luther King. We want to remember names like that. Think about that. You can write a book, a magazine article, or even a letter that people will discuss for years to come. Think about Paul and all of the letters he wrote in those Roman dungeons. Think about that. God specifically made sure that those letters were remembered, and he also made sure that Paul was remembered because of those letters. How about Herbert George Wells? People talk about him all the time. He's fondly remembered. Charles Dickens is another one. People remember him. William Shakespeare. He's been remembered for over 400 years. Think about that. Charles Haddon Spurgeon. He's remembered, I guarantee you that. James Patrick Holding. He's alive today and he's remembered. Most people remember him fondly. But I guarantee you, even after he passes away, he's going to be remembered fondly by a great many of people. How about the guy who wrote Amazing Grace? John Newton. Thanks to that poem he wrote, which got turned into a song, which is sung in many churches across the world, even at funerals across the world. Thanks to that, John Newton will be remembered for many years to come. And he's been remembered for quite some time. We want to remember names like that. You can also create a memorial scholarship that keeps your name in the minds of men. So, well, that doesn't happen. Oh, yes, it does. Fred Rogers, for instance. Or how about Barbara Jordan? Look that one up. Or how about Dora McClellan Brown? I'll say that name again. Dora McClellan Brown. Go ahead, look those names up. Those names and those scholarships are alive in the minds and memories of men and women all over the world today. And for good reason. But if you also sacrifice time to God, God will make sure that your name is remembered for all time. How do we know this? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, we have David, we have Moses, we have Solomon, Peter, Paul, Luke, Mark, Matthew, Need I go on? They sacrificed their time to God. Even Ezekiel did this. He sacrificed his time to God, and that's why people remember him. That's why men remember those names, is because they sacrificed their time to God. And God makes sure that those names are remembered forever. Now, will my name be remembered? Of course it will be. But it's not because I'm smart. Let me tell you something. The only reason why I'm smart is because God allowed me to be smart. God allowed me to be smart so I could give that information to you. And I give this information to you to eliminate eviction, starvation, and bullyism. My information is enough to eliminate those three problems. Why do we have the problem of eviction and starvation? Because of perpetual poverty. Not financial hard times. You can never eliminate all financial hard times. You're always going to experience some kind of financial hard time. That's just the way of the world. But you don't have to experience perpetual poverty. That's different. The only reason why you experience perpetual poverty is due to your lack of education. And that's what is solved here on this YouTube channel. Then you don't have to go through that anymore. You'll still have financial hard times, but not perpetual poverty. That's the difference. And when you eliminate that perpetual poverty, then God can use you as a blessing to others. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm doing this. I want that monkey off your back so that you can actually be a blessing that God wants you to be. And God has given me that tool to give to you so you can stop this perpetual poverty and be the blessing God wants you to be in the lives of others. You remove perpetual poverty and you can fellowship with others. You can tell others about what I've done. And that makes you a blessing in their lives. It also makes God a blessing in their lives. Because what you do is you say, I got this information from Ted, and Ted got this information from God. Okay? God gave the information to Ted, Ted gave the information to me, and now I'm giving the information to you. And that causes you to be fondly remembered. So now you're remembered, I'm remembered, and God is remembered because of all of it. One giant chain. See what I mean? What about bullyism? Same type of situation. If we get the bullies off your back, then you have more time to serve God. Because you don't have to worry about the bully anymore. How do we get the bully off your back? We accelerate your learning capacity. You get higher grades. You get into a classroom that the bully is not into. And it separates you and the bully. And when you two are separated, you're not at war anymore. You give the same information that I've given to you, to your friends, and they stop getting bullied. Then they become a blessing that God wants them to be. God wants those people to be a blessing too. And who knows? After a while, when the bully starts realizing he has nobody left to bully, maybe he'll change his mind. Maybe he'll learn what I'm trying to teach here. Maybe he'll stop being a bully. Because let me tell you something, bully is not very effective if he has nobody to bully. After a while, I'll be sitting there going, I can't bully anybody anymore, now what am I going to do? And maybe God can turn his life around too. See? The reason why I'm a blessing in so many lives is because God has allowed me and has made me a blessing in other people's lives. But remember, the source is from God. That's why I've always said you need a God-centered education. Education's great, and it does solve some problems. But if it isn't God-centered, well, you turn into Adolf Hitler. And nobody wants to do that. See what I mean? So your education has to be God-centered. I'm smart because God allows me to be smart. You say, well, I'm smart because you're smart. Well, you're smart because I'm smart, and I'm smart because God's smart. And God gave me those smarts to make you smart. See? It all goes back to God in the end. He's always up on the top of the food chain. So, as long as God allows me the capability to be a blessing in your life, that's what I'm going to do. That's why God wants me to operate this YouTube channel, to be a blessing in your life. And hopefully that's what's happened here. Mathematics is not going to solve everything. Learning Italian is not going to solve everything. Even when you acquire all the skills that I'm trying to give to you, you're still going to have to pray to God, because God will get you into situations that only He can get you out of. Doesn't matter how many brains you have. There are certain situations you're not going to be able to get out of without God. So always remember that. No matter how much you learn from me, you still got to depend on God. The end. Whew. So hopefully you're getting the correct message. God made me smart to help you get smart. If it wasn't for God, you wouldn't be smart. So it's not that if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be smart. It's really because if it wasn't for God, you wouldn't be smart. If it wasn't for God, you wouldn't have found me in the first place. Oh yes, I can send the message around all I want. But the only reason why you got the message is because God allowed you to get the message. That's the way it works. And I do have a tendency to babble, and I know that you people will probably end up getting that same tendency to babble if you learn enough from me. So I'm going to cut this short and sweet. There's your lesson for today. There'll be another lesson soon. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.